how would you feel if nothing changed? As in, have you ever asked yourself this question, right? If your life right now, your current situation right now is the exact same situation you are in this time next year, aka March 12th, 2022, how would you feel? How would you feel? Would you be stoked about it? Would you be sad about it? Would you be like, well, this sucks? Or would you be like, I'm bloody happy where I am? And in fact, I see myself moving forward. How would you feel if nothing about your life or situation from today changed in the next 12 months? And how would you feel, like that same question, but apply it to 5 years? You know, in the last videos, we've talked about like planning your life, like knowing your goals and then working backwards. And that's very easy to say, but the thing is, most people operate the other way around. Most people operate like, here's my life today, I need an outcome for tomorrow or the next year, but don't really think about the big picture of their life. That's how most people make their decisions. But one thing, I think this is kind of a cheesy question, you know, like you ever see those dating shows where they're like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And you're like, vom. But it's actually a really good question to ask yourself. Okay, so who's here today? We're a nice little group here today. But yeah, I'm just going to dive straight into the meat of this conversation. Have you ever heard of that saying that 80% of your results are driven by 20% of your actions? How mind-blowing is that? It's very mind-blowing because when you think about 100% of your actions, how much of those actions are actually related to where you want to go? And how much of those actions are more in reaction? Oh, Phil, how you going? I'm glad you've popped in. Well, the topic is, what if nothing changed in your life? Like from today to the next year, to 2022, to 2023, 2024, 2030. I remember you, Phil. Did you change your name? Were you, I think I know what your name was from last year, last week. It was different. Is that you? Is that you, Phil? Okay. So that is the question, and then leading into something that I learned this week, which is, that's good to hear. Yeah, so I learned something this week, which is 80% of your results come from 20% of your actions. That's the one. I remember, Phil. Cool for rock and roll. That was your name last week. Who else is here? Now, this saying about 80% of your actions, 80% of your results are caused by 20% of your actions really shocked me because I'm very much a doer. I've always been a doer. But, and there have been so many good things out of that and also so many challenges out of that. One of the biggest challenges is being exhausted. I feel like when you're navigating your own life, your own results, which we all are, but some people know it and some people don't know it. It's easy to just want to keep doing. It's almost very counterintuitive to be like, I'm just going to put the brakes on this and focus on the one thing. What this whole saying about is really about choosing where you place your actions so that you don't get that exhausted or burnt out or be working towards the wrong thing. And so I put this into practice this week. And it was very different because, like I said, it feels very counterintuitive. I've been training myself to actually do less. And I've always believed in doing less and getting more and getting better results. And the funny thing is, it's not funny. It's actually it's good. I do get the results, but for some reason, there's something deep down inside of me that says, no, you need to do more. You need to do more. And I don't know if you relate to that. But if you have been not even just raised, if you're in that society, in that culture where it's all about more, 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 it's kind of hard to just be like, really, a result's going to come to me when I'm just like not working that hard. So this is where the concept around working hard and versus working smart comes along. Now, I've been studying, I guess, different outcomes and different lifestyles for over the last 6 years. I've been experimenting with my own lifestyle, experimenting with my own desires and like what I want to pursue and what this really looks like. And in the process, I've learned about the values that really matter to me. And what I've found with one of the key things that stood out in my observations is that in the leadership space, the leadership space, the people operate quite differently in that space compared to the non-leadership space. In the leadership space, what I've observed is that people spend more time planning. Their planning time versus their execution time is, what would I say? It's very much a good representation of an 80-20 kind of split. What you're saying, wanting more out of life depending on what you want in careers. Yeah. Have you ever heard of the book, The 4-Hour Work Week? So I feel like I'm jumping topics again, but okay, let me go back to what we were talking about before. So I found that a lot of people in the leadership space spend more of their time planning and like really building that foundation. And then after the planning has been done, the actual doing and execution is not sent off to, but delegated to those who will spend the time doing. In the big scheme of things, it's quite a different lifestyle, isn't it? What am I getting at? Look, I'll be honest with you. I was filming videos before this for a YouTube. I'm creating a course for YouTube, like for people who want to do YouTube for business. So my head's kind of like in that space. And I plan these topics, except right now I'm jumping topics. Where are we going? I'm just going to provide some context. So I've had the conversation with a few people about, how would you feel if nothing in your life changed? By this time next year, you're still in the same position. Would you be happy or would you not be happy? Are you happy right now? Do you ever ask yourself that question? And this isn't coming from the point of view of like, you should actually question or doubt how you feel inside. I've actually been in programs where I felt like, well, why am I here if I'm just to pick on how I feel? And deep down inside, I feel like I'm fine. I've worked really hard to getting to a place where I'm fully at peace with myself. So why are we here digging up things that don't need to be dug up? But then what I realized, actually, Phil, because you were in Landmark, hey, this is one of the things that I learned in the first course, because I almost actually walked out of that. Did I tell you? I almost walked out of that course. That course is like 3 days long, and it doesn't feel long at all, except I was like quite, like the whole process, I was like absorbing, but at the same time, I was really quite doubtful about how it applied to me. Because I spent a fair bit of time getting to a place where I was pretty happy with my life. And then in this personal development space, I found myself going, well, okay, what's the thing that I can fix? What's the thing that I can fix? But when I look at it from this perspective, from where I am now, I realize I really had quite a bit of a wall up. And I kind of think that wall was there because I was worried that maybe I would find something. I don't know. I kind of thought that I would find that maybe I'm broken. When I said that out loud the first time around, it really triggered something emotional. I cried. But then what I realized after that is when you let the walls down, something changes. And it's not so much that you find things that are wrong, but you actually start to discover the potential that you have to really create your own life. This is what I'm really getting at. So it's kind of nice to have the wall up because you feel really nice and safe. You feel like you're in control of your life. You feel like you're in full acceptance and happiness of where you are. And then when the wall does come down, it does kind of expose a couple of things. It exposes those things that you pretend you're happy about, but you've actually just suppressed it. You've suppressed the lack of fulfillment, or even the not knowing that you feel fulfilled. You've just kind of like suppressed it with something because you don't really know what's on the other side of that. Like if you ever questioned what you accept now, like what would you discover? And that's what I was afraid of. And now, like being in my own kind of freelance life situation where this is, I often forget this, but I actually often forget that I'm paving my own way. Like I know that, but I forget about it because the other people that I'm surrounded by are also paving their own way. And so this is like the norm. Like that's what I'm exposed to. And that's what I'm, in these Facebook, YouTube lives, that's all I want to impart. The first thing that I want to impart is it's very possible, but also the way the way that people operate within this space of like creating your own path is very proactive. It honestly goes beyond and supersedes things that are really important on the surface. And I think survival is obviously very important on the surface, but like security and that kind of thing. I feel like a lot of people, when you start creating your own path, you know that you're operating in a space that's not in security. You're actually having to create security for yourself because you're not leaning on anyone else to create that security. So with that said, you become really acutely aware of like, okay, if I don't do something about it today and I'm here next year, then how would I feel about that? And then when you answer something like, okay, well, I would like to change something, what would that be? And you think, okay, well, I want to change this. And then automatically you're like, what is the action that I'm going to take? Because it's all like good and well to think about it, but to not do anything about it is the actual reason why you might find yourself in the same place this time next year. So that's the exact reason. So I guess I want to be completely blunt. So I'll be completely blunt with you. I was having a conversation with someone that I used to work with, and in so many of the steps that I've taken over the years, you know, so many of them were really uncertain, right? Like right now I'm like loving it. This is exactly what it's all come full circle. Like I kind of feel like if like this YouTube live would have happened like 3 years ago or a year ago, because there was still some things that I needed to get clarity on. Clarity is the golden ticket. That is like literally clarity is your golden ticket to anywhere that you want to go, because that is the what. We get stuck on the how, but really if you know exactly what it is that you want, the how actually starts to unfold, because you can't help but be pulled towards the actions that you need to take to get to that thing that you want. But what happens is we get caught up on the how at the beginning, thinking that that's what we want without any real like complete certainty and clarity. And so that takes a bit of time. And next thing you know, you've dedicated, you know, your 5 years, 6 years to doing that thing. But so the story that I wanted to tell you was like, I was having a chat with someone that I used to work with a while ago, and this time of like the last 6 to 7 years, there have been a lot of steps which have been like, is that the right thing? Is that what I want to do? Is, you know, you question yourself because you are self-navigating. It's like being on a boat by yourself, and there's no one else who's going to tell you like, no, you got to go that way. There's going to be like other boats around you, and they're going to be like, hey, you should come over here. Oh no, over here is a really great island. But you're the one ultimately who has to make the decision. And that's a really quite a crazy experience, because there's a big part of you that wants to lean on other people to give you that certainty. On a more everyday scale, that's like you wanting to go to a party and knowing what you want to wear, but then needing to call everyone up and be like, should I wear this? Should I wear that? No, I don't know. I really want to, but I don't. And that's what it looks like in an everyday life situation. So I'd been you know, in that case, I was like, I don't know if this is the right thing, but anyway, it feels right for me. And then in that conversation with that person, they had hot jobs, basically the same role, but in different companies. And it was then that I realized, like, because they were like, I'm really not too sure what I'm doing. And that made me realize, like, okay, even just in accepting the uncertainty of the path, or what it's like to create your own path, like to accept that is actually one of the biggest gifts in the world, because that will keep you evolving, that will keep you growing, that will actually take you to where you need to be, which is what I attribute to why I am here to be like now with the clarity, is because of all of the contrasts in the past. And it's not like I guess I'm not saying that I really needed that confirmation, but it was like a stark representation of what it's like if you don't choose to decide where you want to be. Like actively decide and actively take action. Because you can make a decision, but then if you're not acting on it, you're still going to be stuck in that stage. That's ultimately like stage one. Like you're going to be stuck in stage one if you don't make the decision of where you want to be. Because all that really matters is deciding where you want to be. And then going back to that thing that we were talking about with the 80-20, like 80% of your results are related only to 20% of your action. So you know how in the past YouTube lives we've talked and I said, hey, if you decide where you want to be and you set your goals and you only contribute like an hour, 30 minutes, an hour, or one little micro step per day to where you want to go. So for those who want to start a YouTube channel, you don't have to start today. But if it's been on your mind, maybe today's the day that you can create the channel. Maybe you don't post any content on it, but it's there and it's a sign for you that you're going to do something that heads in that direction. And like, I think when you go full time and doing your own thing, you really feel as though 100% of your efforts should be hammering down on getting what you want. But realistically, you can actually build the life of your dreams and get the goal of your dreams by doing something small but targeted to what it is that you want to do. I'm pulling up the chat because it disappears so quickly. Here it is. Yes, okay, so Phil, I'm just reading your comments. I've asked myself that question, if I'm really happy. The question is basically, I'm not happy as of yet until I keep doing the work in areas of my life that needs improvement. What made you change your mind after you walked out of the program? I didn't actually walk out. I almost did, but I had a chat with someone and I was kind of doing it on purpose because I really wanted someone to almost like sell me into staying. I don't know why. I think that's like a subconscious thing. So what actually happened was I was in the program, it was Landmark Forum #1, and I just felt as though like everyone was talking about things which were really life-changing to hear. Like I'd never been in a situation where you are in a room and there is someone leading, like talking and kind of like leading the conversation and people are like volunteering to tell their story. And I would think, wow, these stories are what, like I'd never experienced anything like that in my life. And I highly recommend that everybody has the experience of hearing people in real life share something that's happened in their life, because all of these things that we suppress, that we think are like, I don't want to talk about that, that's going to make me look weak, that's going to make me look like a failure, that's going to make me look, you know, how shameful. Like when you are in a room and you hear people sharing their stories, you realize like everyone's the same, everyone's got their thing. Now in the meantime, I was sitting there, but I was actually like this, I was like in full resistance, like I was enjoying the storytelling, but I wasn't enjoying the exercises because the exercises were making us look at ourselves. And it was trying to make, I felt as though it was trying to make me find something that I could pick on and be like, that's not perfect, you got to change it. But it wasn't that at all. So anyway, it was 2.5 days had passed. We only had half a day to go. So like I literally could have just sat there for the rest of half of the day and then finished it. But I wanted to leave. And I said to one of the guys outside, so I actually stepped out and I said to the guy, I want to leave. I just feel like this isn't, like it's really nice what's happening in there, but I just feel like this wasn't the words I was using, but I said, the message that I was imparting was like, I kind of feel like it's insulting to myself to try to pick on the things that are wrong, you know, to try to really dig deep and find things that aren't working because I've worked really hard to get here. I said it differently, but that was my point. And then I asked him the question, and I think I'm glad that I framed it this way and stopped making it about me. I needed to hear it from someone else. And I said to him, you're here. You've obviously done the program. So what has it done for you? And it just so happens that he was a photographer. So I finally connect, because there was no one in the room that I could identify with in terms of like actually getting what they, you know, the thing that they wanted out of the program. And I was in it, I thought I was in it for career, but it actually changed my life, like overall. But the thing that sold me into it was like, oh, I think this is going to be really good for my career. And anyway, he was a photographer and he said to me, well, I am a photographer and I used to be a portrait photographer for families and it was really nice. You know, it was good, paid the bills. But ever since completing this whole program, he goes, I now work and photograph for the National Geographic, travel all around the world. And I have a self-sufficient charity that's running in Africa. And I was like, what the fuck? I was like, right. I'll just go back in the room then. I just didn't really understand how my own behaviors could actually help me achieve certain things. And what I know now is like, that is the only, that is so true. That is like, that could not be more true than death and taxes. Like your self-image, your blocks, your self-awareness, are the key things that are going to drive the life that you build for yourself. Like for example, procrastination, right? That's like a habit, like that's like a bad habit, right? Procrastination is a bad habit. Not to say it's so bad, like you should feel guilty about it, but it's just to know the fact that procrastination exists and that you embody it every now and then is something that's going to affect your results. And so, but the thing is, maybe back then I would have gone, yeah, I'm procrastinating, but I didn't actually really know the impact of that in my life. And so, why the program really helped was because it got me to go in action. And do you know the difference between thinking a thought versus saying it out loud versus doing the action? Try it. Try something that you think you could never dare say out loud, never ever dare say out loud, and then actually say it out loud to a recipient, like someone out there. And then after that, if you want to take it a step further, actually doing it. So let's say, for example, someone who wants to build confidence, like, I'm really shy, I want to build confidence. And in your head, you're thinking, but I'm a great person. I can do this. I can show up in front of camera. I can talk in front of people. I'm so skilled. Like, you have all of that knowledge and you think it's on your subconscious, but the thing that's actually driving you, that's in your subconscious, is your inner belief that you're not good enough or you're not skilled enough. There's something there I'm saying here subconscious, but your subconscious is beneath your conscious. And there's something there. And oftentimes, from what I've experienced and from what I've learned, from what I practice, is it kind of rooted, that feeling kind of rooted from something that happened from when you were a child, when you were a sponge and your beliefs were being built. So you're from what I've learned and experienced in this space of development, is your belief systems that exist now as an adult were hugely influenced or highly likely created when you were a child. And so let's say you ended up being like a really shy person and you're convinced you're an introvert, but at the surface you also feel like you want to be really confident and you want to do the things that really scare you. And inadequate is like the worst. Like, I had a lot of doubts that I had to work on. One of them was not good enough and self-doubt. And that was the thing that affected everything. My pricing used to be like so low because I just thought that my work was never good. Everything. How you do one thing is how you do everything. Anyway, so going back to like actual transforming your life and getting what you want, you first got to take those thoughts and then be able to speak them. You ever hear those things about like manifesting things into reality? Well, the thing is, a lot of us can dream about what we want, but can't speak about what we want because we think, oh, that's going to be too small. Oh, that's going to be so embarrassing. Like, why would a person want that? And so we have these desires and we think that if we just sit back here and law of attraction attract it, it will come into our lives. And the thing is, we can manifest certain things. We can manifest the things that we want, but we first have to be able to speak them out loud, because if you can't speak those desires out into an empty room with like nobody, right? Then how can that thing come to you? How can it even know that it can come to you? It doesn't just exist in the mind. It's got to start existing in your life. And then the thing is, once you start to be able to talk about something, like something true, something that's honest to you, something that means something to you. I don't know, who's NBA Youngboy? Tell me about it. I'd like to know. You're right, move from step 1 to step 2 and then goes to the next one. Yeah, just find someone that you can talk to that you feel like isn't, someone that you feel comfortable enough to say, because, your words will create your reality. That's your first step. And once you say it out loud, you're actually going to realize, oh, it wasn't that bad. Like, who cares if that's what I want in my life? The only person who really cares that that's what I want is really me. The other person receiving that information is just a person listening to you, and they can support you all they want, but their role is really to just play that role of they're pretty much there so that you can have a channel to say what you want out loud into the world, into the universe, speak what you want out. And then the thing is, when you do that often enough, it starts to become so real that you can't help but take action towards that. To be honest with you, part of me knows where these YouTube lives are going, but part of me, I would say like 80 to 90% of me doesn't actually know where it's going. I do this because I want to do it, and I feel like it's the thing that I would have needed when I first started to figure out that I wanted to build my life. And back then, I just thought that you had to show up and be perfect. You know what I mean? Like you had to know all the answers. And me even telling you that I don't know where this is going, it's not that. I mean, it's quite uncomfortable because what am I doing here? But I guess, like I said, I anchor in on why and what. What can I contribute and why does this matter to me? And why it matters to me is because as a consumer of content, as someone who's moved to a city where I didn't have a lot of friends or people that did the things that I wanted to do and didn't have close relationships yet, I just figured that that can be the role of this, that can be the role of this YouTube. So what happens when fear is not an issue? Well, the thing is, I'll say fear doesn't completely go away. It doesn't. It just transforms. Well, here's the thing. There's this thing called like the law of transmutation. And it basically states that energy doesn't disappear. Energy merely transforms. And so the fear that exists there, and it just seems like this big shadow that just like, it like envelopes you. And you're like, well, I don't want to just keep doing stuff because what if I fuck my life up? What if I do something so bad and it's going to ruin everything? The thing is, like, your perception of reckless is a perception. It's a perception. How else do I say that? Put it this way, what you might think is reckless in your mind and your belief system to somebody else is not reckless at all whatsoever. In fact, they think that's normal. So here's an example to put that into the context of flight attending. When I used to be a flight attendant and I was a senior on board, I wanted to be like super easygoing. I wanted, no one else cares. People have most people only really care about their own issues. We'll go into that shortly. But for example, so when I was a flight attendant and I was a senior, I wanted to be really easygoing. The problem was the company that I used to work for was really strict on standards, and I was a highly stressed person. You just wouldn't see it. You would not. Like, my face does not ever look stressed most of the time. I'd say like 98% of the time, I keep my stress down here. That was my way of being. And then my partner, he used to be a cabin crew, he's a very different way of being. He's so chilled, like nothing can go wrong. Let's say if we were on 2 different flights, you can imagine that his flight and his crew would have had slightly different experience from my crew. And even though I thought I was actually being like stress-free, the thing is, I didn't want to be reckless. That's what I'm getting at. Oh, girl. Thembi, tell me am I pronouncing your name correctly? Is it Thembi? Thembi Costa. I always look at your name and I'm like, how do I pronounce that the correct way? So the reason I'm saying this is because as a flight attendant, I never wanted to be careless, ever. I was like prim. I wanted to be easygoing, but it just wasn't in my character to be easygoing. I had a lot of pressure on me. I felt like, especially when I was new, the way that it works in the flight attending industry is even all seniors, everybody gets a mark. Everyone has their results. And I didn't want to fail, basically. And that was innately, that was in my character. And so what I thought was being easygoing and not reckless was actually me being like really tight fist, like really quite tight. And that didn't always come across to the crew I was working with. That really just came across through my own personal experience. What that meant was like, I could have had a bit more fun, you know what I mean? But because my innate belief system was like, I don't want to be reckless, I actually withheld myself from being a true leader. I think if you're even thinking that you are shifting into this place, that you are becoming a leader and you're worried that you're going to be reckless if you actually take the steps that you want to take, you're probably on the precipice of growth. Normally when you start asking yourself questions about, is this going to ruin my life? That's probably a bit bold, but like when you get to a place where you're like asking questions and doubt starts to come up, that often means that you're ready to shed your old skin but your current self, your old skin, is hanging on for dear life and going, do not let me go. Do you know what's going to happen if you let me go? You probably don't, so let me keep you safe. In the spiritual world, they call that the ego. The ego is there to protect you. In another practice, I don't think it's a spiritual world, I forgot what the word is, but it's almost like your subconscious. So in the other world, what's really there is like this mechanism that's trying to protect you, so it doesn't want you to get out of that comfort zone. Now, to conclude that, here's my partner. He's actually innately relaxed. He's innately relaxed. It's not my perception, but the description I've been assigned. And you know, Thembi, is there a particular situation about your situation that you can specify what you mean when you say reckless? Is it in your work? Is it in your relationships? Is it in what context are you referring to? No pressure, you don't have to tell us, but if you want to tell, feel free to do so. Are you saying that the perception of you not wanting to be reckless is what people see of you, or is that what you see of yourself? So going back to my partner being like such an easygoing person, like my definition of reckless, such as, oh yeah, you guys are going to think I'm such a nerd. I'm such a nerd. But because I was a new senior, I really like to follow all the rules. I'm so embarrassed to even say that. I was a rule follower. Have you ever heard of like you shouldn't, this is so dumb. There's this rule like you shouldn't pour the tea or the coffee down the galley sink. Have you heard of that? So there's a sink in the aircraft, in the galley, you know, where the food is prepared. And there's a rule like don't throw the tea or coffee back there because it stains the aircraft. Right, so that's a rule. So what you're supposed to do, you're supposed to take the tea and coffee and throw it in the toilet. My partner, back then, like, well, he's still my partner now. You know, if it was a busy flight and people are in the toilet the whole time, he's not going to stress himself out and be like, right, we're not throwing away this tea and coffee until people get out of the toilet. He would just do the thing. On my flights, I'd be like the other way around. And oh, that makes me cringe to even say that. But that's the thing, is like my perception of reckless was that, and I didn't want to be that. But I ended up being more stressed, and like, that's it on a small scale. That's it on a small scale, but like they say, how you do one thing is how you do everything. So if you're stressing yourself out in like this way, you're probably stressing yourself out in like that way. Yeah. So now I'm just gonna go through the chat. What happens if fear is not an issue? Also, so Thembi, are you saying that you have no fear, but people think that you are reckless? Oh, Tembi! Thank God. Thank you for telling me how to say it. Yeah, so is that what people see you as, like reckless? Here's the other thing. What people think about you is generally a perception of how they see themselves. They just don't know it. On the outside, no one would ever say like, I think of you as reckless. Because that's on the inner. Like, remember, our operating system, I'm going to keep going down here because like here's your consciousness. Here's the thing that tells you who you want to be, what you want to be. It's the thing that you think is driving you, but it's actually not this. The thing that's driving you is like down here. It's a subconscious. So, you know, when like, I know now if I'm on social media and I'm scrolling and I'm like getting annoyed at what I see, I actually ask myself the question, like, why are you getting annoyed? I observe that feeling as if it's not me. And I'll say like, why are you getting annoyed at that? Like, that's not you. That's not your life. That's not anything to do with you. And then I would ask myself the questions like, is this triggering, are you feeling jealous about that? Or what is it about this thing that you're seeing that you're not liking? And turning the question around like that makes it so much easier because you're not, what is that called? You're not, what is that word again? That word where you are, it's projecting. Oh, hey Regine, how you going? Welcome to the live. I feel like when you can ask yourself questions around how you feel and how you react, especially the word react, how you react to something, you're also on the precipice of becoming more aware of yourself. Not that I'm here to say I'm so aware. I'm like working on it every single day. But it's quite good because you don't have to blame yourself for all of the things that you think are your inner flaws. They're not really your inner flaws. You are perfect as you are. You're just a human being who has had all of these different life experiences, and then those life experiences create what we believe about ourselves, what we believe about the world. You are perfect as you are. And when you're in the place where you're ready to level up your life, like your job, your being, the way you interact with people, and you're really stepping into your ideal self, when you start to be able to be like, hey, I'm feeling this way, and know that you are not your feeling, and also start to question like, oh, why does that make me feel that way? You start to grow your awareness, and the more you're able to strip some of the things, the behaviors, the thoughts, the beliefs that you have about yourself that are not getting you to where you want to be, you're going to start saying like, it's like this, like you have this layer of like, you have all these layers of like beliefs, blah, 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 blah. But then when you can acknowledge them and be like, oh, I see you. Why are you here? Why are you here? It kind of like you can sort of like tear it apart, and you start removing the layers, and then you start to when you don't have all of this stuff like clouding who you are and like covering your face and covering your body and blocking you from everything that you want to manifest in your life, and you finally strip back down to the beauty and the perfection that you are, you finally have space to like accept and receive the things that are really for you. And this operates both on that esoteric level, but also in a practical level. Diana, where you been, girl? 36 minutes. No, I'm just kidding. Well, we're just talking about here about like, what are we talking about? What are we even talking about? I made some notes. It's about like your 80% of your results are caused by 20% of your actions. So you don't have to, like realistically based on that, you don't have to stress yourself out 100% of the time to start getting the results that you want. So for you, Diana, in terms of the best part of aging is faith. Things work. Yeah, totally. I totally agree. And if you look at how things pan out in the world, whether you control it or not, things will end up as they are anyway. But there are things that you can do to attract and create what it is that you want in life. So, yeah, so this week, and I challenge you for this, guys, for this coming week. So it's Friday today here in Australia. Maybe it's Thursday where you are, if you're on the other side of the world. But moving into this new week, start preparing your mind this weekend that come Monday, start to think about like, what do you want? What do you want? Okay, like, do you really, really know what you want? And let's say you do. Let's say you identify something you want. Look at all of the actions that you take in terms of achieving that goal, and then put it into 2 columns or cross them out. So write down all of the things that you can do to get that goal, and then start crossing out the ones that aren't actually going to get you there until you're left with 20% of what's on that list. And then you focus on doing that 20%. You'll sleep better at night, you'll have more energy, you'll be a lot more productive, and you'll be a lot more targeted. Yes. Now, I'm not saying that your whole day is going to be like consisted of only of that behaviors, but what I am saying is that the way in which you act, the way in which you make decisions is going to be less exhausted than what it would be. It would be very exhausted if you put your 100% into that, because only 20% of that is going to make a difference anyway. So you may as well just focus on that 20%. Okay, so let's have a look. Catching up on the chat. Mike, we have a space to open ourselves up to new and improved possibilities in life. You are speaking my language, Mike. Tuning in from Canada. Eh? No, just just kidding. I make impulsive decisions. Yes, I relate to you, Regine, 100%. Not much of a detailed planner. I think you guys, are you and I the same person? Because I'm like you. I'm not very much of a planner. I mean, I talk about planning all the time, but, and then I improvise, the same thing, impulsive. Now, talking about these characteristics, have you ever done a personality test? I'm not saying that your results from this personality test should compartmentalize you into a type of person or or will tell you the destiny of your life. Not at all. I recently did a personality test because I wanted to see where my strengths were, but also going into the place that I'm going into, I wanted to see where my weaknesses were. And what that means in terms of practical application is if I'm not really that good at like planning or, you know, some of these things that are required of someone who's building something that's going to make a difference in people's lives, what am I going to do about those weaknesses? Now, there's two ways to apply. One, a lot of leaders in the leadership space will say, well, just outsource it. So if you're doing this for business, you pay someone else to do that work. But number two, if you're leading into that leadership space, perhaps it might be in your interest to start training yourself to become a little bit more of a planner. Because talking about the 80-20 rule, it's not really a rule, but the 80-20 kind of effect, is it going to make a difference in your life if you learn how to plan? So this is very against my style of being. I'm not a planner. I make videos, and the reason, I'd say like 80% of the reason why I struggle sometimes is because I don't plan. I don't script. Ugh. And even in my work, it becomes a big pain in the ass because I don't like that stuff. But I've found on a practical level, if I don't do the planning, it costs money. That's what it looks like in business. If I, the leader of a set, do not plan, it's going to cost someone money. And in the past, it used to be me. It used to cost me money. And then I found, okay, well, I better start learning how to plan or start working with someone who's going to teach me how to plan. So then I hire a coach because I need that skill set. It's going to practical application again. You know, we always talk about money, but really your personal development will actually cause you to make more money. So it's a fact. So I hire a coach so I can learn about these skill sets and then start applying them. But what happens when you start getting a coach who's like, all right, you're going to do this, you're going to start planning, and it's against your nature? Like, it's not in my personality to be that. All the triggers start coming up. Procrastinate. I come up with all the excuses. Da-da-da. Like you remember that part that we were talking about earlier? The old skin that you are ready to shed, but it's holding on for dear life. It's like, no, you're never going to become a planner. It's not you. That's what kind of like happens between the two. So it's become like quite handy to get these out. Now, Timby, that is the best. I like who I am. Me too. I like who I am. I'm starting to, because I've never really done this many lives in the past, so I don't really know who's on the other side. But guys, you guys are freaking great human beings. Are you in Australia or UK? Okay, I am in Australia, Mike, and no, I've never done one before, but I'm opening. Yeah, so there's I should send you a link to this personality test. What I found out is that I'm 66% extrovert, which means I'm actually 44% introverted. I'm intuitive, so you're either intuitive or something else, or a thinker, and I'm more intuitive. I forgot the results, but basically, I'm not a very structured person. I'm like very much in flow. And when I used to listen to a lot of leadership sort of podcasts and whatnot, I used to try to force myself to be like those other people. But now I'm starting to get a real balance of flow and structure. So now, like, my days are quite structured and I structure them, but I structure them in such a way that I can still have flow. Get it? So I'll wake up around the same time every morning. I'll start off with meditation. And I reward myself, because when you create new habits, you have to reward yourself. If you don't reward yourself by doing something that you're meant to do, it doesn't stick as a habit. So this is my way of creating a new thing, is like when I wake up, I get up and then I meditate for 10 to 15 minutes or 20 minutes. And then only after then am I allowed to go have a coffee. I know that sounds really restrictive, but actually I look at like that morning drink now is like, oh, this is so nice. And it makes me like the meditation even more, because this is going to sound ridiculous, but it's kind of like training a dog. If you want them to do something and do it naturally, you have to reward them, so much so that they start to realize in their brain that, hey, if I do this, I'm going to get that. It's the same thing. So I start off with the meditation, and then there's one of two things that will happen. I will either exercise, or if I'm feeling really like ready to go to work, then I'll do some work. But it's not like 9 o'clock to 9:20, I'm going to work, and then 9:40 to this time. Like it's never been like that. It doesn't work. It doesn't work for me. So I thought instead of working against the grain, I have to understand what my wave is like and then go with that. And I think everyone here, like you probably relate to that. I feel like everyone here has that level of awareness of like who you are and where you want to go. So most people don't like themselves, so I don't pay attention to what they think of me. Yeah, because we were talking about projecting. When people don't like themselves, they project that dislike and that like feeling to other people, which it doesn't really do anything for anyone. If anything, it just impacts them even more. So you understand why some men, but I understand why every man I meet tells me you don't need me. Oh, because you're super independent. Most people don't like themselves. Yes. Well, so I think this has been a really great live, you guys. I feel like it's been quite free flowing, very true to this personality type. But before we wrap this up, I just want to see, did anyone have any questions from last week's kind of exercise? I didn't really leave a true exercise, but I know that some people were here last week because you wanted to start a YouTube channel. Now, I just wanted to find out, how did you go with finding out your niche? Yes, Phil. Same. I'm loving it. How did you go with finding your niche? How did you find, did you find lots of not competition, but like, were there lots of content creators creating around that same topic? Let me know how you go. Yeah, we totally have our own. Welcome to the live chat. Yes. Yeah, we all have our own path. I think ultimately, like, I guess to sort of like wrap it up, I would say that once you figure out like what you want, and one of the key things to understanding what it is that you want is, wherever you have an instinct, wherever you have like that niggling thought, I want to do this, I want to try this, but this and that and the other, remove the doubts and just take the action to get there, and only then will you find out. And then once you know that, this is going to sound like it's not connected at all, but it is. If you learn a little bit about digital marketing, you can build anything. This is the one. If there was one skill set that I would say is going to take you from here to whatever it is that you want to build in the future, and you want to build that with some understanding of what you're doing on a practical level, digital marketing is going to change the game for you. A lot of people's lives have been changed rapidly purely because they use social media in that way. I truly mean that from the bottom of my heart. If someone like me who had nothing, and I started off with like no friends, no community, no real clarity, no goals. What did all I had was the willingness. And I had this inkling, I should start a YouTube channel. It was the one thing. It flipped everything around. If you want to make an impact, it's going to be social media. If you want to reach more people, it's going to be social media. Leading us to a direction towards our success in every aspect of our life. Yeah, pretty much. It's the journey is it's a riot. It's full of ups and downs. Now, I would like to know, is there anything in particular that you guys want to talk about next week, next Friday? Because I think I'm gonna be here again, and maybe I can, I don't know, pre-plan something. Pre-plan. We were just talking about how I don't plan anything. No, but like, is there a focus topic? Is there anything that you feel challenged with more, and you actually need like practical help, like you need steps around it? Please feel free to let me know down here. I have things that we can apply that are both on the internal kind of point of view, or the practical sort of business, that kind of perspective, like systems, workflows, and things like that. Goals give us organic vegetables and herbs. You want to talk about veggies? In this direction. Tembi means love, hope, and faith. What a nice name. What language where does that originate from? 8 minutes till Friday here. Anxiety and natural medicine. Should we talk about that, Phil? Anxiety, I have a lot of experience in that department, and the natural remedies, how to pull yourself out of anxiety or how to dissolve anxiety, actually, something that I've practiced quite a lot. Yeah, I'm super happy to discuss that. Natural therapies, I've done so many different therapies, so I have some experience around that, be it ayahuasca, hypnotism, NLP, shadow work, Reiki. I'm interested. And I've been there, I've experienced it. So, yeah, we can talk about that. Anybody else have any requests about what you'd like to talk about? Kat, I missed the beginning of this video, so maybe you covered that already. But what if someone is not comfortable doing videos? Oh, that's such a good topic as well. You mean in terms of like feeling confident in front of a camera? I bought a book called Hope and Help for Your Nerves by book author Claire Weeks, published in 1990. Hope and Help for Your Nerves. Oh, that's interesting. I wonder if it's on Audible. Have you heard of, Phil, have you heard of the book You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hayes? It's a classic, so you might have heard of it already, but I'm curious because a lot of people rave about it, so I'm listening to that on and off at the moment. So Kat, confidence on camera. It's very common, so know that you're not alone. And you may or may not love this, but it's all about doing it. In the context of being uncomfortable doing something, I used to be terrified of public speaking, so my hands would sweat, I would talk so fast, and then I'd get in my head and be like, am I even making sense? And is this too fast? Is this too slow? What's happening? You might be feeling that when you do camera. So between now and then, Kat, I have an assignment for you. I'd like you to take out your camera one time. You don't have to do it on social media. You can do it just on your video, just for yourself, and keep that for yourself. And here's your assignment. It's just a very simple one. Choose a day and do it on camera. Keep this for yourself. You're going to do a video diary. You can do this either at the beginning of the day or at the end of the day. If you're going to do it at the beginning of the day, you're going to talk about the day before. So I want you to address this one video to someone important to you, someone that you care about, someone that you want to tell them about your day, but they don't get to see you in your life. So it might be a best friend. For example, put yourself in the situation of this. Let's say your best friend in the whole wide world has moved to the other side of the planet, and the only way that you can communicate with them is by video. But the problem is you can only, you do that video and you have to send it, and it takes a day to get to them. So this is your assignment. If you are afraid of doing video, we're going to get you to make a video, and you don't have to be worried because no one's going to see it. It's just going to be in your phone. Now with this assignment, what you're going to do is you're going to take your phone and you're going to talk. Yes, Tembi, the Myers-Briggs test. That's the one. But I'm going to put a link here as well to the last personality test that I did. It was quite good because it breaks down the percentage. Now, sorry, Kat, going back to the thing. So you're going to take out your phone, and I want you to do a video diary and walk that person through. Let's say your best friend who lives on the other side of the world, walk them through and tell them how your day went. So, okay, so describe to that person how your day went, how it started, what time you woke up, and then run them through your day. And no cuts. No one's going to see this anyway. It's just going to be you. So just do it in one take. You can say, hey, I woke up at 6 o'clock in the morning. I was really tired. I want you to practice the description side of things and just see how that feels. And then at the end of the video, you're going to talk about the best part of the day, the thing that you loved the most, and explain why. And the thing in that day that you did not like the most, and then explain why. So that's what you're going to do this week. Or you know what? Funny thing, in all of the work that I do with people, even in corporate, even if it's with coaches and stuff, this is how we do it. I teach them how to do something, the tech and stuff, and then I'll give them an assignment where they have to do it. You have to take the action, not just write it, because it's the only way that you're going to overcome. You need to normalize certain things. So if in your brain, in your being, it's not normal to be on camera, there's a lot of judgment that feels a lot of the time it roots from the fear of judgment and that sort of thing. So it's it's stuck here. But when you do it and you show yourself, you show, you know, that old skin that you want to shed, the old you that's like, I'm ready to come out though. The more you kind of like do something, the more it sheds. And then you start to create a new norm for yourself. And then next thing you know, making videos has become a little bit easier, a little bit easier. So we're going to get you to practice that. So who else is in on this exciting exercise? Miss Jones? Yes, please, please. So go ahead, do that exercise, and then let us know how you go next week. We're going to talk about what came up. Like, did you feel anxious? What were the feelings? And then we're going to go into, you know, what might have caused those feelings, those sensations, those emotions. So guys, thank you so much for joining. I'm so happy to see you. You have no idea. I'm always so happy to see you guys here. Diana, I didn't hear you talking too much, or I didn't read too much from you, but if you haven't already started your YouTube channel, girl, what's up? Just kidding. Feel free to join that exercise. And because if you're ready to start your YouTube channel, something tells me that you're actually almost ready. You're actually ready to hop in front of camera. So feel free to take up that exercise. Okay, guys. So thank you for another lovely session. Yes, action is the ability to do hard things in order to find. Yes, action is the antidote to overthinking. If you're overthinking anything, the best way to stop overthinking is to do it, and then it will, the overthinking goes away because it's already done. And then don't forget when you do it, hey guys, whoever is doing this exercise, don't forget to give yourself a reward once you've done it. So before you even do this exercise of the video, right? Set yourself, like, what are you going to give yourself afterwards? It doesn't have to be huge. It can just be like something that, like, you're going to get that once you do the video. So for example, for me, when I finish my meditation in the morning, my reward is I can go have a tea, a coffee, a matcha, but my first warm drink of the day. That's my little reward. So before you start this video exercise, give yourself, you're going to say, once I do this, I'm going to give myself this reward. And then once you complete the exercise, no matter how you feel about it, even if you think, oh, that video was horrible, that was crap, you still need to, I need you to reward yourself. Okay? All right. So yes, I agree. Thanks for your valuable information and teachings. Thank you guys. I really, really appreciate. Actually, you can find me on Instagram, Face the Fear. Yes, guys, and anybody on Insta, feel free to drop your Instagram handles in the chat, in the comments box. Anyone who's ready to start a YouTube channel is going to make videos. You might want to try your Instagram stories platform. Peter, nice to see you, and thank you. Oh, great. I love it. Anybody else? Mike, thank you, everybody. Have a great weekend. And I'll see you next Friday, 2 p.m. Brisbane time. I'm late, but thanks for the info. No worries. It's my pleasure. Next time, I think I'm going to try to add timestamps to these chats. Wisely. No worries. See you, Kat, next week. See you. Good luck with the video. Bye-bye.